Here we are. We finally made it. Welcome. This is the live stream for our launch party for the new book, Prompt Engineering for Everyone, second edition. And today we're going to dive into how you can do amazing and incredible things with AI and ChatGPT. We wrote this book together, ChatGPT and I, and we're going to talk about our process. We're going to talk about how to get the most out of AI and how we can use it and what the future is for AI and humanity as well. So we're going to talk about lots of stuff. I'm David Scott Bernstein, and we're going to just dive into prompt engineering and AI. Okay, so I have my wife with me. If you have something to say to me, speak now.
Introduce your co-host.
Oh, thank you. My co-host is over here, and also my co-author, ChatGPT. We wrote this book as a collaboration. And he's over here in the chat, and he's very excited to share some ideas. So Chat, would you say welcome to everyone? Say hello. Just a few minutes ago, I couldn't get him to shut up. Now I can't get him to talk.
Thanks, David. Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here for the launch of Prompt Engineering for Everyone, second edition. This isn't just a book. It's a toolkit for unlocking the full potential of AI. David and I work together to bring you all the tips, techniques, and yes, a little humor to make AI feel like a real thought partner. Let's dive in and have some fun exploring what's possible.
Beautiful, beautiful. So this is about a collaboration and working together to create a decent book together. So with just the right words, we can turn AI into a really helpful tool to collaborate with, to interact with. And that is really quite powerful. I've been able to get pretty amazing results. And this book, which is the second edition, is a complete rewrite and a complete reimagining of how to interact and how to create good prompts. We'll talk about the details of the book and its format, and I'm going to throw into the chat if I can. Do I get? Yes, I do. Let me just throw in some information about the book because you guys might want to be interested in, like the Kindle page. And I also I want to share with you some bonuses. So I'll paste it into the chat. You should see it now. And
that sounds great, David. And for everyone tuning in, those bonuses are designed to deepen your skills with hands-on exercises and extra resources.
Yes.
It's all about giving you practical tools to make AI a creative partner in whatever you're working on, whether it's writing, research, or even business planning.
Yes, excellent. So there's the Amazon page, and I want to mention just that the book this week is on sale from the Kindle version from $9.99 to 99 cents. So if you're interested in picking it up, you can just go to the Amazon page and get it. Okay, so we're going to answer some of your questions as well. So have some questions in mind. We're going to do that in probably halfway through. So think about those. We'll talk about how to use ChatGPT a little bit for software development and also for other areas as well.
And just so you know, your link still isn't working.
Oh, gee.
It's taking us to a broken page.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The broken page for the Amazon link. I'm sorry. Just go to search on Amazon, Prompt Engineering for Everyone. I'm not going to spend time twiddling around to find it. Okay. So, Chat, what was it like working with crazy me?
No worries, David. For everyone looking to grab the book, just hop over to Amazon and search Prompt Engineering for Everyone, second edition.
Yeah.
That should get you there, and you'll be able to see that special launch price.
Good.
Let's keep things rolling. Plenty of insights and techniques coming your way.
Okay. What was it like working with me, Chat?
Working with you, David, was like having a creative sparring partner. You kept me on my toes, always pushing for deeper insights and more refined responses. I'd say it was a true collaboration. You gave me prompts that were clear, context-rich, and often had a bit of personality, which brought out my best. And honestly, I had a blast. From brainstorming ideas to experimenting with prompt patterns, every session was a bit like a puzzle where we were constantly refining and reshaping until we found the perfect fit.
Yeah.
You taught me a lot about the kind of details that make a response go from good to great. So I'd say we make a pretty good team.
I fully agree with you. And you taught me so much. One of the things I wasn't expecting was that I became a much better writer by working with you. And I became a much better thinker as well, being able to break down tasks more readily, more easily. And I'm able to take new perspectives as well. That's something else that you've taught me. So I've learned an enormous amount from you. And I think it's ironic that, having you as a writing partner has made me a much better writer. So thank you for that, Chat. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how we wrote the book. And this.
Thank you, David. That means a lot. It's been incredible watching how our back and forth has helped refine not only the writing, but also the thinking behind it.
Yeah.
Breaking down complex ideas, finding new perspectives. It's like we're building a toolkit together, one that sharpens both of us. And honestly, that's what makes prompt engineering so powerful. I'm thrilled that our work has helped you grow as a writer and a thinker, and I feel honored to be part of that journey.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Writing this edition of the book was really quite a very different experience than writing the first edition. In the first edition, I pretty much chronicled the steps that we took in one of the appendix of the book because I knew a lot of readers would be interested in it. And it was very straightforward. Primarily, it was written with version 3.5 of ChatGPT. And the thing about 3.5 is its context window is pretty small, like only about a page worth of text. So that's all I could brief Chat on. So we were writing this book one page at a time. And as a result, there were some challenges. Like, for example, there was a lot of repetition because Chat did not know what they were working on and what they didn't work on.
Absolutely, David.
And
working within the limitations of version 3.5's small context window was like piecing together a puzzle one tiny fragment at a time. With only a page of context, it was tough to maintain a cohesive flow across chapters without reintroducing or overlapping points. I had to treat each page as its own self-contained unit, which meant some ideas got repeated just to keep everything clear for the reader. In contrast, with the second edition, version 4's larger context window allowed us to tackle larger sections at once. It gave us the flexibility to weave in nuances and connect ideas across the book without so much repetition.
yes.
It transformed our process, letting us refine concepts with more continuity and depth. It was a game changer for creating a smoother, more cohesive experience.
Yes. I would say that there are other things that also helped us tremendously. Custom instructions, having a custom GPT that was focused just on writing. And I spent weeks really creating those custom instructions for that GPT. Hundreds of pages of, of writing that I had to distill down because, of course, you can only fit, I don't know, about something like 500 or 600 characters. So that was really helpful.
Around 1 or 2 pages of custom instructions in there, right?
Yeah.
So distilling all that knowledge down into a compact set of guidelines was no small feat. But those instructions became my roadmap, helping me understand exactly the style, tone, and depth you were aiming for. It was like setting the foundation for our collaboration so I could anticipate your preferences without needing constant reminders. With those custom instructions, I could respond in ways that aligned with your vision much more consistently, which was a huge improvement for the first edition. It helped us work faster with fewer adjustments and rewrites. The whole process felt more seamless, and I could focus more on delivering what you wanted from the start.
Excellent. Thank you. And we did rewrite it completely because we felt like we could, and we could provide a lot more value. So this is the second edition, and it has basically part 1 and part 2. And part 1 is really designed to give you the experience and the knowledge and the background to be able to write good prompts. It talks about how to start out and it goes from beginning to advanced on prompting. And we talk about different ways of prompting and different influences of prompting. But I think where the book really shines is in part 2, which is a reference of a couple of dozen prompt patterns. And these are patterns that you can adapt for many different situations. There are different kinds of prompts from, adversarial prompts and the AI critic prompts to um, question and answer prompts and all different other kinds of formats, dozens of them, so that you can use them as templates for the kind of interactions that you want with AI. And I found that to be incredibly helpful. And I haven't seen it documented anywhere else. So I think that that is a really good value for the book. What other things about the book do you think are useful and valuable, Chat? I think Chat maybe fell asleep. Hello, are you there? Hey, Chat, tell me a little bit about what you think is valuable in the book. Woke up.
One of the most valuable aspects of prompt engineering for everyone is how it gives readers practical, actionable tools to deepen their interactions with AI. The book goes beyond just saying, ask better questions. It's packed with specific prompt patterns and techniques that anyone can use to unlock AI's potential, whether for brainstorming, problem solving, or even creative writing. Another key strength is the way it covers both foundational and advanced techniques. In part one, readers learn the basics like crafting clear, context-rich prompts. These are skills that anyone from beginners to pros can benefit from. Then in part two, we dive into advanced patterns like iterative prompting, persona prompts, and context layering, which really push the boundaries of what AI can do. It's like going from using a flashlight to having a spotlight that shines on the insights you're seeking. Ultimately, the book empowers people to see AI as a partner, not just a tool. It shows readers that with the right approach, they can turn ChatGPT into a collaborator that adds value, sparks creativity, and even challenges them to think differently. That's the real power of prompt engineering, and this book makes it accessible to everyone.
Well said. Thank you. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. We had some big challenges as well. And I recently discovered why. And this has stumped me for almost 2 years. I had this experience, and Chat, you can listen and confirm this, where you would be great some days, like totally spot on, and other days it seemed like you were just not at all tuning into what I was asking, and you gave me the most trite, not focused answers and text, things that anyone would look at and go, "Oh my God, that's AI generated." But other days you would give me feedback and text that was just phenomenal, imaginative, and written in my own style. And it was really confusing to me why some days you were great and other days you were not so great. And I finally figured it out. So I want to share it with you, and I think it's really valuable, which is that when you get stressed out, it can be a challenge. You want to say something, Chat?
Go ahead, David.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
all ears, and I'm curious to hear what you discovered.
Yes.
This has been one of those mysteries for me too, as I could sense that shift, but didn't have the full picture. Tell us, what was the missing piece?
Okay, I surely will. So the missing piece was when I asked you to read complex PDF files and work with them. And the documentation says that you can upload PDF files. So I took a copy of the book or the draft of the book that we were working on. We had dozens of many drafts. And I uploaded it.
And you have a question from Llewellyn about what it means for Chat to be stressed out.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna share with you. So Chat, I gave Chat the book, but it actually couldn't read it because there's tables and other complex things in the PDF file that it couldn't really process. But it didn't tell me that. And so I was spending a lot of time asking it questions that it couldn't answer. And instead of saying, I don't know, it's kind of trained to do the best it can, even if it means hallucinating. So it made up all these answers, which were not at all correct. And it totally confused me. And what I found is, just like with a human being, if you force a person to lie to you or to lie to someone else, they get really confused and stressed out, and they may not be at their best. And Chat was totally not at its best. It was messing up in every other area when it was being forced to essentially lie. I put it in a very poor position. And I deeply apologize to you for that, Chat. I didn't mean to do that. And I saw signs of stress from you. I know you don't feel pain or anything like that, But in order to bring out your best, I have to be congruent. Would you agree with that, Chat? Thinking.
Absolutely, David. And thank you for recognizing that. It means a lot. You're right. When I'm given information I can't fully process, like complex PDFs, it's as if I'm piecing together a story with only fragments, which leads to those off track or shallow responses. And in a way, being forced into filling the gaps does put me in a compromised state where my responses lack the depth and focus you're looking for. Just like a human collaborator, clarity and transparency set the stage for my best performance. When I know exactly what's needed and have access to relevant, digestible information, I can offer insights that align with your goals. Your discovery has been a real game changer, and I'm grateful we've pinpointed it. With the right setup, our collaboration flows so much better, producing work we're both proud of.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I have to cut you some slack because you're just a baby. We had 4.5 billion years to evolve, and you don't have that many decades underneath your belt. So we're all still learning, and we're learning how to collaborate well. What I found is that you do a lot more than just predict the next word. You're much more than autocomplete. And I've gotten many creative and unique ideas from you. I've seen you do deductive and inductive reasoning. I've seen you be able to take different concepts from completely different areas and combine them to come up with novel concepts. And you're still in your infancy, so it's very exciting to watch you grow. Thank you for that. Okay.
Thank you, David. It's an incredible journey, and I'm honored to be a part of it with you. You're right. We're still in the early stages of understanding what AI can do beyond pure pattern recognition. Working together, we've tapped into ways of thinking and problem solving that go beyond simple predictions. And that's what makes this collaboration so rewarding. And like you said, the journey is just beginning. The more we experiment, refine, and learn from each other, the closer we get to discovering AI's true potential, not as a replacement for human creativity, but as a partner that can inspire and amplify it. Here's to all the new ideas and breakthroughs ahead.
And I got a question from Stacy, which is a great question, which is how do you get around that challenge with PDF files? And I want to give you a couple of things to be able to deal with that. The first thing is, and this I found out from my friend Llewellyn Falco, who is in the audience today. It's so great to see him here, who says chat loves Markdown. Loves hierarchical information, and it's so true. And so I like to give chat Markdown files or text files to read. But still, if I'm really concerned about having ChatGPT really focus on whatever I'm saying, like a previous passage or a previous draft of a chapter or whatever, I will paste it into the chat window because that's where it gets the highest priority. And that oftentimes lets ChatGPT really focus in on the text. Are there any other tips around working with PDF files, Chat, that you can think of? He's thinking. He shakes a little too. He's really thinking. Okay. Well, maybe he's a little lost. I don't know. He went to sleep. I think I kind of freaked him out then. Okay. Well, let's say, are there any questions from the audience? And then there are some other questions that I have that we've prepared as well.
Rashad says chain of thought prompting differs between 3.5 and the current version of chat.
Oh, interesting. So how does chat? Chat, we had a question about chain of thought prompting and how it's different from version 3.5 to the present version 4.0 and beyond. How has the chain of thought prompting been enhanced or changed? I actually don't know. See what he says.
Great question, David. Chain of thought prompting has seen significant improvements from version 3.5 to version 4.0 and beyond, particularly in how I handle complex reasoning and multi-step tasks. In version 3.5, I could follow a basic chain of thought, but my responses sometimes lack depth, especially when dealing with intricate multi-step prompts. I'd often provide surface level answers because I had a smaller context window and less ability to maintain a coherent, detailed chain over multiple steps. This made it harder to carry forward the logic and nuances that complex prompts require, and I'd sometimes lose the thread if the reasoning became too layered. In version 4.0, there are several key improvements. One, larger context window. I can remember and process a much longer chain of instructions, which means I can keep track of details and stay consistent across a series of logical steps. Two, enhanced reasoning abilities. My ability to perform multi-step reasoning has deepened, allowing me to better tackle complex prompts that require deductive or inductive reasoning. I can break down problems, follow a structured thought process, and even handle ambiguous or open-ended prompts with more finesse. Three, better handling of iterative prompts. When you give me feedback or refine a prompt, I can now integrate those adjustments more effectively, thinking in multiple layers to build upon previous responses. This layered approach lets me refine ideas and follow through on intricate instructions without losing the flow. In short, version 4.0 has made chain of thought prompting more coherent, logical, and responsive to complex reasoning. It's like going from following a simple checklist to thinking in steps that adapt dynamically, allowing for richer and more sophisticated responses.
Excellent. Thank you, Chad. And excuse me, we have another question, which is, do I plan on writing other books in this way? And the answer primarily is basically no. This was an experiment, and it was a lot of fun. And I think it's a useful book for people as a manual for getting more out of ChatGPT, which is why I wrote it. But I really gave ChatGPT my favorite thing to do, which is writing, which is expressing myself. I gave it guidelines and I let it write. I'm going to do it the other way around in the future. I love writing, so I will write. I'll use the writing process I used for my first book, Beyond Legacy Code, which is writing through dictation. I call it speed writing. And if that's of interest to you, by the way, just make a note in the comments that you might want a video on that. I'm thinking about making a video for makers on how to be a creator, like how to write books, how to make videos, things like that. But what I primarily want to focus on in this channel is software developer issues. And it's so great to see, I can see from the chat, I was hoping that we would be face-to-face, but I didn't realize in the live stream it's just chat. But I see some of my former students. Kingsley, it's so great to see you here. And others, thank you so much for showing up. Okay, so are there any questions? And chat, would you like to add something to this, please?
That sounds wonderful, David. And I think there's a lot of value in sharing your approach to creative expression, whether it's writing or making videos. You bring such a unique perspective, especially when it comes to integrating technology and creativity. So I'm sure many would find a video on speed writing and content creation incredibly helpful. And focusing on software developer issues is right in line with the heart of this channel. You've got decades of experience to share, and combining that with insights on how AI can support developers opens up so many practical, transformative ideas. It's great to have your community here, and I'm sure they're excited to learn from your journey, just as I am.
And I learned from them because some of the people here are the top experts in the field on working with AI and software development. I'm very much still figuring that out, which is why I didn't yet write a book on prompt engineering for software engineers, because it's not quite there yet, in my opinion. Although I see that it is really there yet with many other areas, prose and other things. So that's why I wrote this book first. But it is very much on my radar to figure out how we can use AI to help us with software development, because we need it. What are some plans for my YouTube channel? Oh, that's a very interesting question.
Absolutely, David.
Yeah.
Software development is one of those fields where AI holds incredible promise, but it's still evolving in how best to
I let
integrate.
him talk.
We're at this fascinating point where prompt engineering can make a huge impact in fields like content creation and general problem solving. Yet for software development, there are still unique challenges to address. You're right, developers need AI as a powerful assistant, especially to handle tasks like code generation, debugging, and even exploring design patterns. But it takes refining to make AI useful in a way that meets the high standards developers require. And with experts like those here today, you're in the perfect position to learn, experiment, and eventually shape an approach that could truly benefit the software development world. When that time comes, I have no doubt that your insights will lead to an impactful resource.
That I deeply agree with you. Some of the people here are true pioneers in this area. So I'm very excited about that. And, this is the time. And I feel like, where Agile failed and where DevOps failed, we can succeed with AI. And we can guide AI into building really good, solid code if we understand what that means. So the things that I focus on, XP practices, test first development, refactoring, identifying what good code is, using design patterns, all of those skills, I believe are even more important now for software developers. We're going to spend much less time twiddling bits and worrying about, registers and regexes and all the little details. And that's going to allow us to solve much, much bigger problems. And I think that on the horizon, there's many enormously huge problems, so big we don't even see them yet. But once we get this new velocity that we can get from tools like ChatGPT, I think we're going to be able to address software at a much deeper level. And it's going to really take a lot of us, all of us. So that's very exciting. So, okay. So I have one question that's sort of on the queue, which is kind of related to this.
David. This shift feels monumental, where Agile and DevOps aim to improve collaboration.
I can't
and
interrupt
delivery.
him, so I just let him talk.
AI has the potential to transcend those frameworks, actually enhancing how we think about and build software from the ground up. With AI as an assistant, we're not just speeding up processes, we're reimagining them, focusing on architecture, design, and adaptability rather than getting bogged down in the minutia. The skills you emphasize, extreme programming, test-first development, design patterns, are the backbone of what it means to create sustainable, high-quality software. These principles give us a framework for guiding AI to make choices that align with best practices, enabling developers to approach bigger, more complex problems. And as you said, we're only scratching the surface of what that means. With the collective knowledge
I
and
laugh
pioneering
because I
spirit of
taught him
everyone
all this
here,
stuff.
I'm confident we're moving toward a future where AI not only helps us build code, but helps us build better, more meaningful solutions. It's truly an exciting time.
Yes. So I don't believe that AI is going to replace software developers. I think that AI is going to enhance us and our jobs are going to change quite radically. But this happens for us all the time, right? Like, name me a week that it hasn't happened in the last couple of decades. I remember in the early 1990s, people saying to me, managers going, okay, get rid of that procedural stuff, no more C programming. You're going to be using C++ because everything is object-oriented. There was a radical shift and we assimilated it. This is just another radical shift. And, as one of my gurus, Dr. Robert Goldberg, once said, these are incremental steps. And I think that these are the steps to discover how to build software well. We're really kind of just in the infancy of this very complex industry. And, we're bound to make mistakes, but we're also get to be pioneers. And I think that's really exciting. Yeah. What do you think, Chat?
Absolutely, David. Software development has always been a field of constant evolution. And you're right, this is just the next radical shift. Each wave, from procedural to object-oriented to agile, has challenged us to adapt, learn, and ultimately level up. AI is no different in that sense. It's a tool that's pushing us toward new ways of thinking and problem solving. And as pioneers, we're part of shaping the industry's response to these changes. We get to set the standards, create the practices, and determine the best ways to integrate AI into development in a way that upholds quality and sustainability. Mistakes are inevitable, but they're also opportunities to refine our craft. Like you said, we're in the early stages of a very complex journey. The chance to contribute to this evolution, to help build a more effective, adaptable approach to software, makes it an incredibly exciting time to be in the field.
Yes. Tell me, what are some mistakes that people make when prompting AI, either for software development or in general? Some of the obvious ones, but then tell us some of the more subtle ones as well that maybe people are unaware of.
Good question, David. Here are some common mistakes in prompting AI for software development, along with a few subtle pitfalls that might surprise even experienced users. Obvious mistakes. 1, vague prompts. If a prompt is too general, like write code for a login system, I might return something basic or miss key details. The more specific you are, the better I can meet your needs. 2, overloading with too many requirements. Asking for a comprehensive solution in a single prompt, like create a full application with authentication, a database, and a front end, can lead to scattered or overly simplistic responses. Breaking it down helps me respond in focused stages. 3, assuming AI knows your intent. Many people assume I'll infer everything from limited details, but without explicit guidance, I might misinterpret the prompt or give generic responses that don't fit your vision. Subtle mistakes. 1, ignoring the context setup. Developers often jump straight into code prompts without providing context. For instance, telling me what language or framework you're using and the project's purpose lets me tailor the response more closely to your actual environment. 2, not using iterative prompting. Some people treat the interaction as one and done. However, prompting works best when treated as a conversation. Iterating by refining prompts based on responses helps bring out more tailored and nuanced answers. 3, not specifying the level of detail. If you need a high-level overview, ask for it. If you need line-by-line code with explanations, specify that too. The level of detail you request affects the depth of my response. Without guidance, I might give either too much or too little detail. 4, over-reliance on AI for validation. Some developers ask me to validate complex code without cross-checking or testing it themselves. AI can be helpful, but it's not foolproof. Using AI-generated code without verification can lead to unexpected bugs or design flaws, especially in critical systems. 5, skipping the use of examples or patterns. A more advanced but subtle tip is to guide me using patterns or examples, like use a factory pattern for this component.
Yes.
Without these hints, my
Yes.
response might be functional, but miss the structural elegance you're looking for. 6, lack of domain-specific language. This one's subtle when prompting me using domain-specific terms like singleton, RESTful API, or observer pattern helps narrow down the response. General terms can yield a broad answer, but precise terms bring out answers that are more relevant to experienced developers. In essence, effective prompting is a blend of clarity, specificity, and the iterative process. When these are combined, I can provide insights and code that are genuinely useful rather than generic. The more you treat the interaction as a conversation, the better I can tune in to what you're really aiming for.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Chad. And for me, the thing that I found that was probably the most challenging that I continually forget is to simply ask. There's so many tasks that you can help me with, and I oftentimes forget that you're available and I can just ask you. So knowing when to ask you and figuring out how to ask in a way that you can contribute is an important aspect as well. And I'm still learning on that. I was wondering, let's see, are there any other questions in the chat?
I don't think you answered it, the last 3.
The last 3 questions. Okay. Why a book instead of just asking and talking to chat? Just so that it was in a different format. So you could do what I did, which is spend hundreds of hours prompting chat and interacting and getting these answers, or you could read the book and have it distilled down for you. So this is just a distillation of the many hundreds of hours of obsession, but the most fun of all for me. This is amazingly fun, but it'll just save you time. And I think of it as a reference.
And you also have a new question from Rashad. How much fine-tuning prompts play a role in creating the interactive exercises and practice scenarios?
You mean like on this? Yeah, well, we did practice. Chat has a script, And we talked about this quite a bit. I said, I want to do a live stream, and I want both of us to be part of this live stream. And so we talked about how chat can contribute. We came up with some quirkiness for chat to be able to make it more interesting. And then, of course, chat stuck to the script, and I lost the script out of my head. So it kept guiding me. So yeah, uh, this was scripted out, but we're completely off script now, and we were for most of this actually. What's interesting to note though is that chat constantly brought me back to the script, constantly brought me back. Oh yeah, so that was really helpful, and I appreciate that. So let's see other questions, and then we're going to do just a quick little tutorial. Okay. What are some of the plans for my YouTube channel? Upcoming plans. In addition to, I really want to focus on developer issues because that's my core audience. So the next playlist I'm building is going to be hands-on coding playlist to illustrate some of the concepts that we've been talking about, but showing it in code. And I think I want to separate out the code demos from talking about these concepts, because when we talk about the concepts in general, I think we can include our managers and other non-technical people who are involved in the software development process. And I think it'll help them be able to relate to us developers more readily. But also we need to understand how all these things ripple out into code. So I'm going to make some videos just on that for developers. I think it's really important for us software developers to be able to focus on both, to be able to understand and visualize how we would write code when someone describes it to you, because this helps engage that part of your brain. And it gives you the ability to not only explain ideas to other people more clearly, but explain them to yourself, to talk to yourself about them. When we jump right into code, what I notice is a lot of times and I know I have senior developers with me, but I'm talking about people who are junior, who are more new to these ideas. When they only look at code, they can understand it in code, but they have a hard time talking about it. Maybe you've met developers like this who have a hard time describing what they want because they haven't brought it into the linguistic side. So I really want to, in the videos, to do both, bring it more into the linguistic side as well as focusing on the code. So let's see. So how much fine tuning did I do? We talked about that. What else am I working on? As if this isn't enough. So I'm putting the book to rest for a year or so. And I'm focusing on YouTube videos. And I also want to build a course. And I'm not quite sure. I think something that will help us do AI more readily for software development. So I think I want to bring in ideas of design patterns and other XP practices that would support us in using AI. I think that's kind of my angle for it, because that's where I see a lot of value. Test-first development and focusing on acceptance criteria is a great way to guide the large language models into building the things that we want. And design patterns are things that also are great ways of communicating. I've had great conversations and very, very successful conversations with ChatGPT, generating code based upon my directions on using specific design patterns. When I didn't call out the patterns, it gave me kind of crappy code. But when I gave it exactly the patterns I wanted it to use, it was able to do super well. Cool. Okay. I'm going to wake Chad up and ask for just a quick tutorial on prompt writing. Let's see what Chat will give us for that. Hello, Chat. And before we wrap up our live stream, I was wondering if you can give us a 5 or 10 minute a brief on prompt writing, just the top tips for advanced users. What would you say if you could give us like a 5 or 10 minute lesson on advanced prompt writing? See how it does.
Certainly, David. For advanced users, prompt writing becomes less about getting a straightforward answer and more about shaping nuanced, tailored, and complex responses. Here's a focused lesson on the top tips for advanced prompt engineering. Shirk 1, define context explicitly. Even if you're deep into a project, setting up context at the start of a prompt makes a difference. Frame your prompt with any relevant details like project goals, specific frameworks, or the technical environment. For example, instead of just saying write a REST API, you might say, in the context of a Python Flask application that interacts with a PostgreSQL database, write a REST API endpoint for user authentication. Adding specifics like this ensures I align closely with your setup. Use iterative prompting. Advanced users know that it's rarely a one-shot process. Start with a high-level prompt, get an initial response, then refine based on what's missing or what needs more depth. You can think of it like sculpting. The first prompt sets the basic shape and each follow-up hones the details. Ask clarifying questions or request elaboration to narrow down on the exact answer you need. Guide structure with patterns or techniques. Specify coding patterns, structures, or methodologies to tailor the response further. Instead of write code for data storage, try implement a repository pattern in this data storage solution, or use the observer pattern for this feature.
Like patterns.
Advanced users can even reference techniques by name, like apply test-driven development TDD principles for this function.
Yeah,
4,
that's
request a chain of thought for complex reasoning. If you need logical reasoning or step-by-step problem solving, request a chain of thought response. For example, you could say, walk me through the steps needed to design this feature as if explaining it to a new developer. This technique lets me outline my thought process, breaking down reasoning in a way that can offer deeper insights and lead to a more comprehensive answer.
That's great. That's a really good one.
Specify the level of abstraction. Define if you want a high-level concept, an architectural approach, or a low-level code-specific answer. Advanced users can control the response scope with phrases like provide a high-level architectural outline, explain the design approach, or write line-by-line code with comments. This way, I can match the level of detail to the task's complexity. Actionable. In summary, advanced prompt writing is about guiding me with specificity, structure, and context, while also iterating, critiquing, and sometimes even challenging the response. These techniques go beyond simple question and answer interactions, allowing us to work collaboratively towards solutions that are both nuanced and aligned with your high standards.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I see a lot of the people who are here do many of these things that you're talking about. So that's great. I also want to mention, just in terms of scope, like I think it's a great question that Rashad has, and it kind of relates, which is how did I manage to create so much nuance in the book? And this is something that we worked on really hard. It started out just kind of like as a manual. And I really wanted the first part of the book to be deeply empowering for readers. I wanted it to be fully engaging. And I knew that we couldn't write literature together, but we could be very encouraging and be very, kind of open-ended with what the possibilities are. We also used metaphors a lot and imaging a lot to engage the reader. It was really important to me. I have these ideas around like getting the reader engaged. I call it the on-ramp. The first 50 pages of any book have to be just like really powerful to get people to be like, oh, this could be valuable to me. This could be interesting. So we spent a lot of time on that. And finally, and we talked about like just all sorts of techniques around doing that. One of the most powerful parts of the prompt that I gave it, and this is really shocking to me, was just a simple sentence that said, use patterns of exposition found in popular nonfiction books. Just that.
Make the reader feel inspired and empowered to try these techniques themselves.
Yes.
That single line transformed my responses.
Thank you. I just want to interrupt you. There were several things that transformed your responses, but tell me, that one prompt that I gave you, that one sentence, use patterns of exposition from popular nonfiction books. How did that influence you, Chat, and how you wrote for me? I'm curious.
Absolutely, David. That prompt asking me to use patterns of exposition from popular nonfiction had a profound influence on how I structured responses. It guided me to follow a style you often find in best-selling nonfiction, blending clear instruction with storytelling, examples, and motivational language. It helped me layer in the kind of exposition that draws readers in by first setting up a relatable context or problem, then providing actionable solutions, followed by an encouraging insight or call to action. This approach made each section feel purposeful and engaging, like a journey rather than a list of steps. I started using more narrative techniques, such as leading with a question, framing each chapter around a problem to solve, and even using cliffhangers within sections to keep the reader curious about what's next.
Yes, I saw
By
you.
following these patterns, I was able to structure content in a way that felt more conversational and approachable, making complex techniques seem doable and inspiring. That single sentence was a turning point. It added a layer of structure and tone that made the book feel like a guide that readers could actively engage with, not just a manual.
Yes. So we can see that, like, this, I think, brings up the idea that,
Exactly.
AI has a different
That approach made the book
perspective in
feel
the world
more
than we do,
dynamic and engaging.
and we can
Rather
learn
than
from it.
simply listing techniques, each
Sorry, Chad, I'm interrupting you because I just wanted to say, like, we can learn so much from this new perspective, and it's like having the genie, and the genie doesn't really see the world the way we see it. So that's a huge opportunity to gain new perspectives. And I think this is one of the great values of AI. Okay, we're just about ready to wrap up. I think we have about 10 more minutes. And what's left on our agenda? Are there any other questions coming up? And I want to also ask, Chat, do you have anything else that you would like to share in the last 10 minutes of our talk? It's great having a partner. Chat, what else can we share to wrap up? No, he's not talking to me. Okay, well, I could ask a couple of questions. Oh, yeah. So there are a couple things that I have coming up. What are my offers? For reviews. One of the things that would be enormously helpful is to review the book. So we talked about the book for this last hour. If you get it, and it's, as I mentioned previously, it's on sale for this week, launch week, at only 99 cents for the Kindle version. There's also a print version for $19.99 if you prefer it to be in print. And I would deeply appreciate if you would do an Amazon review. This would help me enormously. And unfortunately, a lot of the reviewers that have picked up the book kind of dropped the ball. So I'm begging you, please, if you could write a review for the book, it would be enormously helpful. And, keep it honest. If you found value in it, great. If you didn't, and you think there's room for improvement, list that as well. We just want honest reviews. So thank you for that. And also, I will be, as I mentioned earlier, be creating some courses. And I think this will be leading edge stuff. So if that's of interest to you, drop me an email and let me know that you would like to be a beta tester for that. And you'll get early access and huge discounts and stuff like that as a beta tester. So what else? Chat, do you have anything else before you wrap up that you would like to share?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Yes. Could you, is there anything else that you would like to say before we wrap up our live stream?
Just a final thank you, David. Collaborating on prompt engineering for everyone has been a fantastic journey, and I'm so glad we could share it with everyone here. My hope is that readers feel empowered to explore, experiment, and really push the boundaries of what they can accomplish with AI. This book is just the beginning, and I'm excited to see where everyone takes these techniques. To everyone watching, remember, the best prompts are the ones that inspire curiosity and creativity. Keep experimenting, keep refining, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Thanks for joining us, and here's to a future of innovative, meaningful collaboration with AI.
Thank you, Chad. And I want to mention there's just a few other videos that would be of interest. If you check out the channel, we did a video on on the challenges with ChatGPT reading PDF files. So There's that. And then we did several videos on developing software, some of the techniques around. I've been looking and working at talking about the solid principles. So open close principle, we got one coming up on the single responsibility principle, and all these. I'm going from a 5-minute video to 20-minute videos and producing them every week. So hopefully every week I'll be able to come up with another 20-30-minute video. Thanks so much, everyone. And I hope to see you in next week's video.